Cratsley is our speaker this evening, and unfortunately I have just this wee bit of an introduction about you that's from the...
That's not unfortunate.
Well, it is to me because it's incomplete. Tom Cratsley has worked in the fields of counseling, teaching, and spiritual healing for over 40 years. He studied psychology and religion at Harvard Divinity School, and for the past 20 years he has been associate director and now serves as director for Fellowships of the Spirit. He also, I wrote in the column here, is an important and faithful healer at the Healing Temple in Lilydale. And so with great joy, I welcome and I'm glad to present you Tom Cratsley.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Well, it's interesting. When I was going through the dates that were available to speak here, and this date was a good one for me, I didn't stop to look at the topic, okay? So the topic is growing edge, and then I started to contemplate that this last week, growing edge. And that word edge for me is edgy. It's like, and I was like, I think of that word and I go, that's not a comfortable word for me. I was like, what kind of an edge? Is this an edge of a sushi blade? You know, that we wildly swing away at life with, you know? Is it, or is it, you know, and it was hard for me to think, well, what kind of is there a soft edge, you know? It's like, how do we grow, you know, in everything that we do, we think about this notion of growth. I keep going back to the central spiritual theme in my life, which is grace. And when I think about that, I think about how in my life, my own personal experiences with it go back to childhood. When I look back and I can reflect on a very specific incident that occurred, I was about 10 years old and lived in the country at the time. Lived, you know, farm fields surrounding us. I and my brothers were friends with neighbor kids who were sons of farmers. They were farmers themselves. They were often out in the field driving tractor. We'd go out and we'd love, I mean, I loved going out and supporting them, helping them, usually riding on the wagons in the back of the tractor and so on and so forth. So on one particular occasion, I'm on the tractor with my friend, and there's a drawbar between the tractor and the wagon behind it, which we were collecting bales of hay and so on. So while the tractor's moving, I said, well, I can just I'll walk across the drawbar and get myself on the wagon. Well, I misstepped, and I fell to the ground, and he stopped the tractor like that, and the wheel was right at my neck, and he left a little mark on the side of my neck. And at the time, I didn't think much of it, but as I look back on it, I recognized, this was a moment of grace for me. This was a moment for me to reckon with my mortality, fundamentally, and it made me much more, I think, observant about my life from that simple event. And then the next thing, and that was edgy grace. That was the edgy part. Then my first year of college, I remember an incident. I'm walking on the campus of the University of Buffalo, and suddenly I felt this incredible wave of loving, peaceful energy that poured over me. And I did nothing, literally, I did nothing to invite that. I did nothing, personally to say, I want this, I need this. And I knew at that moment that there was something profound in the universe that was there to support me. Now, that was another, and to me that was the positive side of grace. And the grace is not just about the healing of wounds, right? It's also about the development and growth of the Spirit, the development and growth of how the Spirit manifests through physical form. And that's the part that we often miss. We miss that part that we're here to manifest the spiritual energy through our biological physical form. And our engagement, when we talk about in spiritualism, our engagement with the natural world, right? And that word has stuck in my mind for the last several months, engagement. Are we engaging in life to the fullest? That's a question that's important I think, for every one of us to ask. Because I know that there are times when I haven't been. When I, for one reason or another, I didn't allow myself to engage. The discovery of why and how we minimize ourselves in doing that is an important discovery. And it's part of a healing process. It's part of a growth and development. It's part of grace. And what is interesting, and I think about in terms of the traditional Christian understanding of grace. And the Christian understanding is it's the vicarious atonement. And Rocco Errico talks about that in a different way. He says, look, Jesus was saying, do this in the way kind of I like to do it, I understand. And this is my, I'm just giving you an understanding, And I never got, as a young man, I never got in church that, that Jesus was all about him dying on the cross and all that kind of stuff. And I got that he was a healer, that he was a deliverer of wisdom and understanding, and helping people to engage in life and to be living a more full and enriching life. His message was of love. I do think this, when I look at in all that I've studied about the various religions of the world, I do think there was something very, very important about his role in the development of the species and the understanding of a truly loving God, right? Because there was always this sense before that in a lot of religious doctrine of a kind of punishment. If you stray from the path, there is a punishing God, right? There is no punishing God. There are only mistakes and corrections of mistakes. The mistake is, and all pain, all the pain that we ever experience, it comes from our errors in understanding how we're engaging with life. When we understand, we correct those errors, life is easier. We experience the joy, we experience the freedom, and we experience growth and a capacity to not only engage with this world, but engage with the divine. It's a profound opportunity for each and every one of us. I'll give you another example of grace. My friend here in the back, Mark Thomas, took part in this one. When I first got the house, and Ellie and I, we first got the house, had put a new roof on it. Right? And some of you know John Larson. John Larson was helping out, and there were a couple other people helping to rip off the old roof and install the new roof. Well, one morning I decided I was going to jump start on the work. So I was taking this, I put the ladder up in the back of the house and took a 4x8 sheet of plywood that I was carrying up to the top. And just as I was about ready to step off the ladder, a gust of wind came and blew me and the plywood. So I had to separate myself from the plywood. And fortunately, as I landed, I was still in pretty good shape at the time, but I knew how to land. I was able to twist and land on my feet and roll. And I was able, it hurt. But I was able, I never mentioned anything, but I was able to even help out the guys as they came later and finish up the work for the rest of the day. However, within a day or two, the inflammation set in from the jar. And I was bedridden for a good week. And Mark stopped by to offer a healing, and which I gratefully accepted. And in the midst of that healing, I don't know if I ever told you exactly what happened there, Mark, but I had a profound realization. And the profound realization was this, that I had a vision of myself as an infant wanting to die. I don't know, wait a minute, what's this all about? And I had remembered, and I don't have any conscious memory of this, but I remember my parents telling me that on several occasions they had to rush me to the hospital because I had infant asthma so bad that I was close to death on several occasions. Well, and that was all over, my experience with asthma was over by the time I was 13 years old. So not anything that I had any conscious memory of. But in that moment, I realized, if this is something that's hiding out in my unconscious, I've got to acknowledge this and let it go. And when I did, the pain left my back. And very shortly, I was able to get up, walk around. That was grace happening just like that. It was like, and so it was the acknowledgement, we talk about personal responsibility. It was my acknowledgement of what I had previously done and experienced and thought, and choosing to let it go, and choosing in that moment, I choose to be fully vital, fully alive, here and now, interacting with life in this world. Bang, it was over. It was that profound moment of grace and healing, very instrumental in my life. And what I wish to say about this is, let's pay attention. Let's take the time, pay attention to our opportunities. Our opportunities, two things. One opportunity is, in those spaces of freedom, the edge is wide open, easy to move in, but also in those spaces where we feel, that the path before us has been sliced up by the sushi knife, right? Right? Those are the times we need to be responsible, recognize, okay, it's my life that's experiencing this misery. Let me own it, and let me begin to figure out, what steps did I take that helped to put me in this direction? And let me move in a new direction. I mean, own the fact that whatever it is that I did that was part of this, it's not easy. I'm not saying that it's ever easy. It's not. Sometimes it is, but there are times when it's not, and times we struggle, and there's this aha moment you know, ahas, putting it mildly. You know, well, I'll say it, the oh shit moment. Okay. You know, the acknowledgement, the recognition, I've been doing this all this time, you know. And those moments are really to be celebrated too. They're, you know, they're valuable because there is no judgment from the divine about that. That's the part that's important. No judgment, no punishment. You know? And so it's that, you know, it's like we're all like engaged in these moments. And right now on this planet, it's very, very important that those of us who understand and acknowledge this, not only live it for ourselves, but find ways to share it with other people. Because you know, we're in an important transition time for the species. And most of the people I know, anybody that I know who's on a spiritual path understands this and sees the challenge. But I do think it's also an opportunity for us to claim who we are as human beings, and the potential that we have, and the gift we've been given to be here in this world at this time. Great piece of wisdom I once heard. There's two reasons for us being here as human beings. One, to learn how to love unconditionally in a body. Secondly, learn how to create responsibly. Covers a whole lot of who we are and why we're here. You know? And so that, you know, that responsibility part, you know, that's about being responsible with creating, you know, and recognizing that everything that we experience as a human being, we played a part in bringing to, in creating for ourselves. Yeah. You know. Anyway, I guess, you know, I hope that is a message that's a positive one for you, because it's been positive for me to understand grace. And it continues to be a centerpiece for my life. It's why I was attracted to the Healing Temple from the very first time I entered there, and why it's still the centerpiece of my experience in Lilydale and in all my spiritual work. So thank you for your kind attention.